Hey all, everybody. Today's 3-minute hit is for a company called Revive Therapeutics. For those that don't know, these 3-minuters, they generally get to 10, but you know, who's counting? Are opportunities for me to rant about companies that either suck and are doing all the wrong things, or don't suck but aren't getting the attention that the markets really should be paying to them. This is the latter for me. A lot of people see it as the first. I see it as the second. Look, Revive Pharmaceuticals, a couple of years ago, before COVID hit, people looked at Revive and said, pick a fucking lane. You're a biotech company, then you're a cannabis extract company, then you're a psilocybin extract company. Now COVID has hit and you've got this pharmaceutical that you're putting through trials to see if it can treat COVID. The naysayers said, you just keep pivoting and nothing is really serious. But Michael Frank, CEO of Revive, said, no, we are always the same company. It's just the vehicle that changes. We've always been a pharmaceutical company. And when cannabis extracts came along, that applied to pharmaceuticals. When the psilocybin extracts came along, it still applied to pharmaceuticals. But go back before that, it was a straight pharmaceutical company that had this drug Bucillamine under its wing. And Frank goes and looks at all the data and says, you know what, this might be something that could actually apply to treatment of COVID. So he put it through trials. The stock went bananas, despite the fact that all those people initially had said Michael Frank was a rip-off artist. It went bananas. Anyone who was looking at the company when we were looking at the company took it from 10 cents up to, god damn, what did it get to before it all went crazy? I want to say it went up to like 50, 60, 70, 80 cents back in 2020. Now listen, over the course of things, the clinical trials for Bucillamine didn't get to where they needed to be, and they didn't get there quickly enough to really be a factor in the anti-COVID rollout. Vaccines came along, the entire scientific community of the world, governments of the world came together and fast-tracked COVID vaccines, which kind of put a cap on what Bucillamine could really be useful for. So it all went away. It went from the 90 cents down to 50 cents, down to 30 cents, and now we're down to 3.5 cents. But Bucillamine is still a thing. The reason it went through trials in the first place is because it does have some uses in the COVID area. Not uses enough to be a vaccine, not uses enough to be a treatment per se, but still in the ballpark and still with some applications for other things. Case in point, the company just announced, to zero fanfare from the market, that they've got a deal with the Canadian Defence Forces to trial Bucillamine as a treatment for nerve agents. A lot of chemical warfare out there in the world today. Canadian military, as much as anybody else, doesn't want their people exposed to it, and they think there might be something there in the use of Bucillamine to negate chemical agents, to the point where they're prepared to do a deal to go research that. Now, for RVV, for Revive, that's a good deal because they don't have to put up any of the money. They don't have to take any of the effort. They just say, go, do your thing. If you find something, fantastic for us. It'll be tens of millions of treatments that you're buying, and we will make a skedaddle of cash. If nothing happens, well, we're no worse off. We're still a 3.5 cent stock. But in the meantime, the next day, Revive announced a deal with a company that has IP. In terms of developing long COVID tests. The company is Lawson Health Research Institute. They've found that novel blood biomarkers characterize long COVID. If they can use that information to identify a detection for long COVID, big impact out there in the world of people like myself who had COVID and who for a long time really struggled with being able to focus, with cloudy brain. For a while there, I couldn't write anything. I resorted to video because writing on a screen was really fucking difficult. So anything at all that can actually detect that, say, this person has long COVID, has massive amounts of use in treatment, in insurance, in HR, a whole bunch of things. So this is a big deal, potentially. Now, can Revive use this and turn it into a treatment? That remains to be seen. There's a long process to go to make that happen. But the fact is, Revive is still out there throwing elbows. It's still signing up IP. It's still making trials for things. It's still going through data. And hey, you know what? The cannabis extractions and the psilocybin extractions, they're still a thing. Will Revive go back up to 90 cents in the next month? I doubt it. Will it go back up to 10 cents in the next month? I doubt it. But can it go from 3.5 to 5 cents? Yeah, actually. And we're seeing a bit of an increase in trading volumes just in the last week. Now, admittedly, the last two pieces of news did not blow the roof off the way earlier pieces of news in the middle of the pandemic did. But that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be, if I buy it at 3 cents today and I can sell this thing at 5 cents in 2 weeks, that's a good trade. If I buy it at 3 cents today and I don't do anything to it, and in 6 months I look and find it's at 13 cents, great trade. And in a down market, 3.5 cents to 4 cents is really a great trade. So I'm looking at Revive. I'm looking at the fact that it's dirt cheap. I'm looking at the fact that it's been up. I'm looking at the fact that the CEO is still in there slinging. And I'm thinking, there's a reasonable expectation here that this company could fall backwards into one good piece of news that gets it from 3 cents to 5 cents to 6 cents. If they can just get a little momentum, the same way they did in 2020, the same way they did again in 2021, if they can get a little momentum, I don't give a shit who lost money buying in at 95 cents, chasing this thing after the good work had been done. That's your loss. If you bought in at 95 cents and today it's at 3.5 cents, I got nothing for you. You can sling your bows and arrows at management all you want, but the fact remains they took this thing from 3 cents to 95 cents in a year while half the market was saying those guys could never. And they did. Now, it didn't stick. Hey, what? That's life in biopharmaceuticals, buddy. Like, you go through the trials and sometimes they miss and sometimes they don't hit fast enough. Sometimes you just get beaten by someone else, as happened here. I don't give a shit whether you lost money or whether you made money. My only intention is, at 3 cents today, if I buy Revive with the news that they've been dropping and the slowly increasing trading volume, is there an expectation that I can get this thing at 6 in a couple of weeks? I think there is. And so today's 3-minute hit is for you to take a look. Just take a look at the last two pieces of news and you tell me if you think there's something there. If you think Michael Frank's a crook, well, you always thought Michael Frank was a crook. People were saying that before the stock went from 3 cents to 90 cents. But he still got it from 3 cents to 90 cents. He still got his drug taken seriously in the halls of power to the point where it could get to 90 cents. A lot of people made a lot of money off Revive over the last few years. And I think there's an opportunity, perhaps, to do that again. Now, no promises. There never is in this business. We don't tell anyone to buy. We don't tell anyone to sell. But I will tell you, at 3 cents, with the track record that Revive has had, I would think that that's going to be somewhere where I might apply some of my money in the next few weeks.